There we go. All right. So go ahead and sit comfortably in your seat. And if you're listening to this as a recording, feel free to lie on your bed or back in an easy chair. Just don't get too comfortable that you fall asleep. We want you to be relaxed but alert and awake. You can let your feet rest on the floor if you're in a chair. If you're able to sit without depending on the chair too much, just let your spine fall into place like a tower of blocks. So you can let the rest of your body relax and hang, so your shoulders just hang loose, your feet rest on the floor. We'll ring the bell 3 times, and with each ring of the bell, please take a deep breath in and out. In and out. And just listen to that hum of the bell continuing to kind of draw you into yourself, into quiet, and into turning the light of your attention around and focusing on what's coming in and who you are in this moment. We begin that, as we always do, by taking something that's very close at hand and is a good opportunity to watch things come and go, and that's our breath. So put your attention into your belly. That's where the breath begins, and you can feel your belly rise as you breathe in and fall as you breathe out, and rise as you breathe in and fall as you breathe out. And you can also be aware, because this is a practice of the body as much as of the mind. Feel the air is cool as you breathe it in through your nostrils. You feel your lungs expand to take that oxygen in. Your lungs fill. And you don't need to force the breath, but you may find as you're paying attention to it, you breathe a little more fully. So often we just breathe halfway, let the breath out and breathe halfway again. But when you're paying attention, without even forcing it, you may find you just take fuller breaths. So you feel that belly rise till your lungs are full. And you don't need to force the breath out. Initially, you just relax, and like a balloon that you've taken your finger off of, the air starts to just leave. And at the end, you can just kind of give yourself a little hug around the abdomen. Force that last bit out, and then automatically you'll notice the next breath comes. Your lungs start to fill again. And you can just see it through. Finish that breath at the end. And then you breathe out. And as you then focus on the body, you can do a quick scan of the body. I like to do it by imagining that there's a pebble on the top of your head, and you follow it as it moves down through you, like a pebble moving through a stream to come to rest at the bottom. The pebble moves past your forehead and brings attention and also relaxation there. You can notice if your forehead is tensed and wrinkled. And again, you don't need to force it any more than a breath. Just noticing the tension, you realize it takes energy and takes some intention to keep that tension going. So when you're simply aware of it, oftentimes that's all it takes to let it relax. The pebble continues down through your nose, your jaw, another place where so often we put the tension into. And if you do that, you can become aware of that and let that jaw unclench. Move down through your neck. You feel that tension in your neck. Your shoulders is another place. So many of us walk around with our shoulders up almost to our ears. Instead, you can let your arms and your shoulders hang. I like to think of it like a coat just hanging on a hanger. It doesn't try and rise up from the hanger. It just settles into the structure that supports it. The pebble moves down into your upper back, moves down into your lower spine, and let that relax there too. I think so often we're taught to not slouch. We hear that at school all the time. But sometimes we go to the extreme instead of believing that standing up straight is to arch our back forward so far that we're causing stress there and injuring ourselves. Again, just let your hips relax, your lower back relax. And if you're sitting properly, it doesn't take much work to sit upright. And then you follow that pebble down through your thighs, your calves, till it finally comes to rest in your feet. And really rests on the earth where your feet are resting and connects you to this earth. And now you feel how you breathe with your entire body. You can picture it as though you're breathing all the way down, all the way into your toes, and then breathing out from your toes. Just breathing in and breathing out. And we talked, maybe it was just last week, about attention, how our attention too is like a muscle that we can strengthen. So often we run around chasing after whatever interests us, whatever shiny thing is in front of us, like a crow. And instead we can just be with what's happening. We don't have to be looking for the next interesting thing. The funny things about human beings is not only do we dislike feeling bad and try and chase after feeling good, we don't even like feeling bored or feeling just in between feeling great and feeling bad. So we're always chasing after that better feeling. I want to feel better in the next moment than I do now. I want to find a better moment in the next one than I do now. But the breath is a good way to tie yourself into this moment and to do it without judging. So often people say, I can't do mindfulness, I can't meditate, my mind is too busy. Well, it takes a little while to learn to let your mind calm a little. If you wanted to learn juggling, you wouldn't try it for one day and say, I can't do this. You realize you have to keep dropping the balls and picking them up. And the same with it, paying attention to your breath. You need to keep coming back, but doing it without first criticizing yourself that I'm no good at this, I'll never learn this. You simply remember that you intended to pay attention and follow your breath for these 15 minutes, and you just come back to it. No need to berate yourself. I think so often we've internalized those voices of our elementary school teachers, if you had one that was critical. And you think back, and was it a teacher that was nurturing and loving that you learned the most from, or was it those teachers that berated you, told you you'd never amount to anything, that you couldn't do this? I think for almost all of us, it's that person that was patient and kind. And so this is also a practice to learn about being patient and kind with ourselves. And we were talking too, before we started this exercise, about just like attention. We always seem to be in a hurry to get somewhere. So much so that for some people it's almost unbearable to have to just sit in a chair and to feel that they're not doing anything. But for one thing, of course, you're doing something. You're exercising your attention, your kindness, your patience. You're breathing. You're just being present to the world and taking in all that's around you. You don't need to cut off thoughts. You may find it interesting at times to watch how they come up, or to watch if emotions arise, if you feel anxious having to sit, or if worry or depression arises. No need to push that away either. There's room in this body and mind for all those emotions. Pushing them away often causes more trouble. In fact, you'll find as you continue scanning your body as you sit, you'll notice how much a tension in one spot, even an itch can make you think, if I don't scratch that, I'll go crazy. Well, you can just choose to sit still for this short time. And to your surprise, what you'll likely find is those itches come and go. They don't always need to be responded to. Thoughts come and go. You can be aware of them, just as you're being aware of your breath. But what we don't do is kind of dance with our thoughts. If it's a negative thought, we'll often get into an argument with ourselves. If it's a good memory or a future outing we're looking forward to, we just keep that thought alive. Instead, like that itch, we can let the thoughts come and go, and let that breath come and go. And we realize too, really all we have is this breath. It's much more common in our lives to think back on something and think of what we should have done if we feel we made a mistake, or wish we could bring that moment back. But the breath is such a good example of the fact that as you sit here and watch your breath, how kind of honestly silly it is to think, well, that last breath wasn't very good, or I didn't pay attention well enough to that breath. Instead, you can see that that may have been the case, but let that go. If you're focusing on the last breath, you've lost your connection to this breath. Or you're thinking about the breath to come. When the moment comes for that next breath, you'll just breathe and be present to it and let this one go. Letting go breath after breath, moment after moment. But what they all have in common when you practice this way is it's as though you have a thread, and you're taking each breath or each moment, and each one of those is like a beautiful shiny bead. When we slow down, we can really appreciate today there's a light rain falling. We're inside, but as soon as we step out, we'll notice there's the smell of spring in the air. And what happens so often is we're rushing, rather than just taking life at its own pace, we miss so much. So that's another part of this practice, is that patience and that allowing ourselves to slow down, not trying to make life speed up to what we think it should be, but taking each moment as it comes. Because what we realize, the reason it's helpful to develop this skill of attention, is that whatever we choose to pay attention to, that becomes our life. And one could go through their whole life, if they lived busily attending to the next moment, or regretting the past, or reminiscing over the past, and eventually you'll have missed all of the wonderful moments that made up your life. That necklace that you can make by threading through each beautiful bead. And you feel the wholeness of your life rather than breaking it down. It's a flow which we interrupt when we try and stop it or speed it up. We don't try and speed up or slow down a river. And our life is a lot like that too. And I just read someone recently who said, too often we go through life like it's a big raging river. We're trying to stop moments. We're trying to speed it up or slow it down. And instead we can let our mind, our body, and our life become like a quiet stream that's continually flowing, but we're not adding to it by adding more tension, more struggling, more suffering. To just be present in gratitude for this body, this life, and each moment. So as we often say at the end of a practice like this, see if you can picture where you're at now. And I know everyone's there because I'm the lucky person who gets to do this, and then I look around and I see all those faces. And I don't know if people even realize how much calmer they are, how they're smiling, almost glowing. And you can imagine this as a place that you can go to, and you can remind yourself that you can return here. It's always here. And all you need to do is follow the breath, follow this moment back into this place of calm and patience and joy. I'm going to ring the bell to end this moment of practice. And take 3 deep breaths to kind of put a bookend to this session. But during the next week, try, if you're in a slow-moving line at the grocery store, or you're waiting in the doctor's office, see what happens if you just follow your breath and enjoy the moment instead of trying to speed things along and watching your anger grow that you haven't been called yet, or they haven't brought you to ring up your groceries yet. Try that as an experiment. This is all an experiment, as life is. So take it as that and approach it with curiosity and play like a child would. So take 3 deep breaths, and when you're ready, open your eyes and return to the room.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, good to see you both. We'll be here next week again.
That was great. That was great. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
I'll post the recording since I remembered to do it this time, Katie, and send you all a link to it too if you want to go over it again. All right.
You didn't record last week's video.
That's great. My
I
cat
did,
was
I-
on my lap for most of it.
I thought I sent you a link. I'll send you it. So
Yeah, send that one.
okay.
That was
Well, good
pretty
to see you guys. Hope we'll see you next week.
Yeah, my cat was enjoying it also.
Oh,
He was
good.
sitting on my lap for most of it. Mhm.
Cats can be good teachers at sitting and doing nothing.
When they want you.
Yeah.
Yeah, although I did
They can
pet
teach you
him.
the
I did
opposite.
pet him, and I did itch my face.
Yeah.
Except when they get the, what do they call it, where they run around, the
Zoomies.
zoomies, yeah.
Middle of the night.
Then they're a good example of forgetting the moment. So, all right. Thanks, you guys. See you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mom.